Attention, attention, all personnel. Incoming podcast. This is MASH Matters.
Hello, it's MASH Matters. It is the show that celebrates the television show MASH, a show about an esteemed, brilliant Army cook who also had to deal with a bunch of cranky doctors. My name is Ryan Patrick, and I, as always, am joined by the man who played that cook, Mr. Igor Strumensky himself, Jeff Maxwell. Hello, Jeff.
Hello, Ryan Patrick. The esteemed Ryan Patrick as well. We're both esteemed, aren't we? We're pretty esteemed.
I get steamed sometimes. I don't know about esteemed, but
yeah, and I'm celebrating as well. We're all celebrating this wonderful show and celebrating the fact that we are esteemed.
Yes, I would also like to welcome back my voice.
Oh,
who has decided to make a return appearance.
So wonderful to hear you.
It's not 100%, but you know, it never is.
You sound great. No, we're all very happy to hear that your voice has returned and you're feeling better and things are going well. I understand you said that you're on a tornado watch, so we better get this done.
At the moment that we are recording, we have some big storms heading my way, so we will try to get this in right before the tornado touches down.
We don't want you to blow away just now that you got your voice back.
That's true. Wouldn't that be something? You get to feeling better and then bam, tornado. That's life, isn't it?
That's life. I can't deny it. Oh, well.
All right. Well, we're going to jump into a big old mailbag of listener comments and questions. If you would like to send us your comments or questions, you can at mashmatterspodcast@gmail.com. Jeff, let's just jump right in.
We're going to jump in, and this is from John, and this is an interesting email, and I was a little stunned when I read it, and I'll talk about why in a minute. So John said, "Hey, Jeff and Ryan, I recall Jeff mentioned early in the podcast that he wasn't sure where Dennis Troy was or what happened to him. This was just posted on Reddit. Dennis Troy," and we're quoting from Reddit here, "Dennis Troy is actually my grandfather. He passed away in 2016. I was born in 1988 to his daughter, Tana Troy, and then adopted later and moved to Arizona. I missed meeting him by 3 years because I found and met the rest of the family in 2019. When Tana passed away in 2021, and we all went to Oroville, California to clean out her place, I was left Dennis's ashes, which I have on my mantle now, and his MASH belt buckle he was gifted as a cast member." And John continues to say, "It's a shame to hear that he passed away 9 years ago, but nice to hear that his MASH belt buckle made it to a family member who will treasure it." Thank you, John. And I am very sad to hear that Dennis Troy passed away. Dennis Troy was a terrific guy. Spent 9 years with him. And the interesting thing was that Dennis and Roy Goldman would have been ecstatic now around the political environment we're all living with. Because there couldn't have been two more opposite political people than Dennis Troy and Roy Goldman. And I used to sit between them and listen to them argue about every political issue going on back then. And they did it with tremendous enthusiasm and tremendous loyalty to their own side. So they were, I mean, some of them got, they didn't come to blows, but they loved each other. They've been working together for a long time and they were best friends. But, they come right up against, I'd like to punch you in the mouth for a minute. But I'm saddened that both of them could not enjoy the havoc that we're all enjoying now.
I don't know that we're enjoying it, but we are enduring it.
We're enduring it. Sorry,
yes,
I will use the wrong word. Yeah. But I'm sorry to hear about Dennis Troy.
I am too. And if you're listening and thinking, who the heck is Dennis Troy? Dennis was one of those guys that you always saw on MASH.
Mm-hmm.
He was just always a presence. And if you Google Dennis Troy MASH, his picture will pop up and you'll go, oh, yeah, him. Because he was one of those faces you saw all the time.
Mm-hmm.
We were hoping that he was still around and maybe we could have gotten him on the podcast. But sadly, he passed away 2 years before the podcast even began.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, John, for letting us know about that Reddit post. I do not know who the original poster was. John just sent us what they posted. So rest in peace, Dennis.
Yeah, and if anybody owns a copy of Secrets of the Mash Mess, The Lost Recipes of Private Igor book that I wrote and is for sale on Amazon now, there are there are pictures of Dennis Troy in there. He was a stand-in and background guy and had a lot of little parts going on through the whole run of the show. And he was also a stunt man. They'd ask him to do some of the stunts, like, fall out of the Jeep or whatever, and he did them very well. And he was a great guy. And so hats off to you, Dennis. Rest in peace.
Yeah. And let's just continue with the sad news.
Yeah.
Because it was also this week that we were made aware, and I don't know how I missed this, but we got news that Joshua Bryant passed away last June, actually. So it's almost been a year.
Yeah.
Josh Bryant, best known as playing Scully on MASH in several episodes. We'll post an article. He founded a film festival in Taos, New Mexico, I believe it is. And the local paper there released a story about him passing away. But that was about it. You didn't really see anybody else mentioning anything about his passing, which is kind of sad. Mm-hmm. He had a prolific career, not only appearing as Scully, but he appeared as Mary Tyler Moore's boyfriend, and he married the school teacher on Little House on the Prairie. He hosted I didn't know about this, he hosted a U.S. nationally syndicated weekly television show called Game Warden Wildlife Journal. I probably wouldn't have watched it anyway because it's not my thing, but I did not know that. I mean, just some of the shows that he appeared on in his career: Gunsmoke, Mission Impossible, Ironside, Kojak, Mannix. So I also noticed that there was some overlap, Jeff. Mm-hmm. He guest starred on Starsky and Hutch. Mm-hmm. He guest starred on Chips. He guest starred on Eight is Enough, which you guest starred on all three of those shows as well.
Indeed, we did. Yes.
I did. Not together. You didn't.
Not together. No.
Right.
Unfortunately. Yeah, that would have been fun.
Yeah, but he was on the A-Team, St. Elsewhere, LA Law. And this is interesting. He was also in one episode of the show Roll Out, which we've talked about before. It's kind of a semi-sister show of MASH that was created by Larry Gelbart and Gene Reynolds. His wife, Melinda Mullins, she actually appeared on MASH and played Martine Leclerc, who was the French Red Cross nurse that Charles falls for in the episode Foreign Affairs. I believe she is still alive, living in France. So anyway, we'll put this story in our show notes. But yeah, so we've lost Dennis Troy and we lost Scully, and we didn't know about it.
And I'm not feeling well right now. It could be something.
Take an aspirin.
As you're saying, these two things come to mind. One of these things is really exploding in my head, and I'll get to that in a second. But the way we kind of found out about it, we were trying to get him on the podcast. Josh, we were going to put him on as a guest. We couldn't wait. That would have been very exciting. And that's how it sort of revealed itself that he had passed away, which we felt terrible about. But something I just read and you talked about, he was married to Melinda Mullins. Mm-hmm. Now, I don't know whether it's the same Melinda Mullins, but I'm going to do some research. Way back in my high school days, there was a play, The Music Man, and there was a wonderful girl who was in The Music Man by the name of Melinda Mullins. Would it be possible that it's the same Melinda Mullins? My goodness gracious, what an interesting thing that would be. I'm going to do a lot of very, very sophisticated investigation.
Okay.
And find out if it's the same Melinda Mullins. And if it is, she's coming on this podcast.
Well, even if she isn't, she could come on this podcast. Yeah, I don't know if it's the same Melinda Mullins or not. She was born in Alabama. Now, I don't know where she was educated, like high school. But I know she ended up going to Juilliard in New York City eventually. But as far as her early education, I do not know anything about it. So,
well, it would certainly be cohesive, her going to Juilliard, because she probably really wanted to be an actress because she was very good in Music Man. And she was very dedicated to
if this is indeed her.
If it is indeed her, yeah.
Right,
she really wanted to do this. So it's possible she did it. I'm very, it would just be a thrill for me to discover that.
Yeah, that would be cool. Even if it's not, though, I would love to have her on. If we could get her on to talk about her career, but also to talk about Josh's career as well, a tribute to him.
Yeah.
Miss Mullins, if you're listening, first of all, were you in The Music Man? And second, would you like to come on?
Well, either you're closing your eyes to situations you do not wish to acknowledge. You're unaware the caliber disaster and to get over the presence of pool table in your community. Well, if so, my friend, you got trouble. I'm sorry.
Now, wait, were you Hill in that production?
I was supposed to be, but I got a tonsil infection and couldn't do it. That's the truth.
Really?
And my partner, my comedy partner, Bill Garrett, did get the part because he was sort of in the same ballpark in terms of goofy people like me. But I was very excited to do it. I was chosen to do it, but it didn't work out because I did a terrible tonsil infection and couldn't talk for a month. And I'm sure everybody right now wishes I had that tonsil infection.
No. Okay. All right. Well, we're done with the sad news. Now we're going to jump into just some listener comments. And this first one, I want to preface this. This is from Kim. And Kim sent us another email recently. And in that email, she referenced her first email that she sent us. And I started thinking, wait a minute, did we ever read her first email?
Oh.
I'm not sure that we did. So I dug back into the archive and found her first email. So now, Kim, we're about to read your first and second emails back to back.
Wow. Okay, here we go. All right. So this is Kim's first email.
Yes.
So Kim from Australia says in her first email, I'm looking forward to new podcast episodes in the new year.
That new year may have been like 2022. I don't remember when that first email came in.
1977. I don't know. I'm looking forward to new podcast episodes in the new year. I listen in my car on the way to and from work and always arrive with a smile on my face. Oh, that's wonderful. I wonder if any other listeners can claim 4 generations of MASH fans. My grandfather usually only watched a news current affairs TV channel, but made an exception and switched to a commercial channel solely to watch MASH when it first arrived on Australian TV in the early 70s. He then introduced it to my parents when I was a baby. I was 11 when the final episode aired, and as soon as the repeats started airing, my family were watching. Now that I have my own family, I introduced my husband to it, and he bought me the box set of DVDs so we could have MASH marathons in the days before streaming service binge watching. Our 2 children knew that they were not to interrupt me if MASH was on TV because I would still watch the repeats too. My daughter now loves the show too, and we always watch it together. When I hear the first 30 seconds of any episodes, I generally know exactly which storyline is coming up, and there are 3 or 4 episodes that instantly bring me to tears in those first 30 seconds. For the most part, though, MASH has provided me with laughs for all my life, and there are not enough ways to say thank you to everyone involved. MASH Matters makes me laugh out loud, so thank you to you, Jeff and Ryan, for continuing to bring me that joy. Ah,
yeah.
How nice. Thank you very much. That's very sweet.
I often hear from listeners, too, that within the first 30 seconds of our podcast, people tend to tear up and start crying as well.
Yeah,
I think it's for different reasons.
What an impact we're having. I mean, gosh.
Kim then followed up with a recent email saying, in my last email, I mentioned that my daughter is now the 4th generation of my family to love MASH. But what I didn't tell you is that I also converted my husband. A couple of times you've asked if people have children or pets named after MASH characters. As you will see in the attached picture, he's not quite a pet, but when my husband gave me this teddy bear for Christmas about 5 years ago, I immediately exclaimed, Radar! That's been his name ever since. He sleeps on our bed each night, and since listening to your podcast, I've reinstated a mini MASH marathon every night before going to bed. So I go to sleep with 2 times the Radar. Keep up the great work, and thank you from Australia. So thank you, Kim. She sleeps with Radar every night.
Oh, my gosh.
Hey,
you heard it here.
Yeah, it's a cute little stuffed animal. I'll put a picture of Kim's little stuffed animal there in the show notes for this episode, which is episode 134.
I'm surprised it isn't a kangaroo. I mean, a stuffed kangaroo or something. Aren't there a lot of them in Australia?
That would be so stereotypical, Jeff.
I guess so. And Eric writes and says, Hi, Ryan and Jeff. I was watching some YouTube videos and came across this MASH hack. Maybe you've seen or heard this one before, maybe not. I have no idea who this guy is that is obviously reading off a script and has zero knowledge of the show. He completely butchers Mike Farrell's name in the beginning and then gets it correct later in the video. When he tries to say Lieutenant Colonel Donald Penobscot's name, I literally spit my coffee all over my keyboard at my desk. That sounds like a spit take, isn't it? Jeff and Ryan, maybe you guys could create a full episode and talk about these fake MASH videos and bad rumors about the best TV show on television. Call it MASH Hacks. The link is at the bottom of this email if you're interested. If not, simply send it to the trash. Keep up the great work. MASH Matters is the best.
Okay, so thank you, Eric. This is something I've actually wanted to mention for a while, and I appreciate Eric's email to remind me about this. When you go on YouTube and you search for MASH videos, you're going to get so many videos. And the problem is, and this is not just for MASH, this is rampant on YouTube. The issue is that there are these videos. I don't know who's creating them. I think they're creating them for views, obviously. But these videos are crap. I mean, they're just absolute crap. They're filled with misinformation. They're making stuff up. The one video that he is referencing, there's a video that says the one co-star, Alan Alda, couldn't stand on MASH. Now, that's a juicy headline, right? You want to find out who that was, right?
Mm-hmm.
But when you click on it, it's just a load of crap. So I'm not going to include the link in the show notes because I don't want to give any more views to this video or any video like it.
Yeah.
Just know the great thing about YouTube is that anybody can create a video and upload it. The bad thing about YouTube is that anybody can create a video and upload it. And if they're putting out stuff about MASH, if you don't know the source, there's a good chance that it's fake and the information in that video is completely bogus. And not just these videos, but our friend Karen Lieberman, a couple of episodes back, was talking about getting fed up with people on Facebook posting rumors from the MASH set that were unfounded, but because they're posted and because they get shared and shared and shared and shared, they become true in a lot of people's minds. And you have to, again, consider the source and just beware.
Am I to assume that not everything on the internet is actually true? Is that a possibility that it isn't actually accurate and truthful? I'm stunned.
Jeff, I've been meaning to have this talk with you for a long time. I think you're old enough now to know most of the internet is not true.
Well, thanks for waiting so long to tell me. I mean,
I'm so sorry.
Well, I've been believing everything and all this.
I know.
All right. Thank you for finally revealing to me.
That Norwegian prince is not sending you his life savings. Please stop emailing him. Okay, moving on. Jason says, I just found your podcast and began binge listening to it. I have a question. In the episode Adam's Ribs, why didn't Hawkeye just have Henry get his wife to order and pick up the ribs for him instead of going through a woman that Trapper used to know? Seems like Henry living in Illinois, it would have made life easier. Anyway, loving the podcast and hope to hear from you soon. Have a good day/night. Thank you, Jason, for bringing this up. Let me give you a little bit of geography here. So I live in Illinois. I live down in the southern tip of Illinois, which is the opposite end of the state from Chicago. For me to drive to Chicago straight through, it's about 5.5 hours. Bloomington, Illinois, that's where Mrs. Henry Blake would have lived. Even from Bloomington to Chicago, it's a little over a 2-hour drive. Now, that's today with interstates and good gas mileage. She would have had to have gotten in her 48 Packard or whatever they had and driven highways and byways to Dearborn Street in Chicago. It probably would have been about a 3.5 to 4 hour drive for her to get to Chicago to pick up the ribs. Oh. And then another 3.5, 4 hours back. Yes, he could have asked her to go and do it. But if Trapper's one night stand or wait, maybe it was a 2-night stand. Or was it a 3-night stand? I don't know.
This is a family show, so please be very careful here.
If she lived in Chicago, I can see why they went with somebody who lived in Chicago to take care of that.
Yeah.
It's an interesting question, Jason.
I never thought of that.
I didn't either, but Jason did, and that's why we love this podcast.
Absolutely. What amazing things we learn. And Rick writes, he says, hey, guys. I've been a MASH fan as long as I can remember, going back as far as the late 70s, watching it with my dad. And now that I am in my 50s, I watch MASH almost every day on Hulu. I just started listening to your podcast, and I have a lot of catching up to do. Yes, you do. So when I was in English class in middle school, can't remember the grade. Well, that's because you're 50, you know.
Right?
Yeah, the entire class was given a script copy of Season 9, Episode 2, Letters. Wow. It apparently hadn't aired yet on television, and the episode was about to air, so the teacher had the students take turns reading and acting out the script. My goodness, what a fun thing to do. I was fortunate enough to start out as reading Hawkeye's lines for about the first 5 minutes, and we took the script home and were able to follow the show line for line when the episode aired. It's the episode where I know the Hawkeye's opening line word for word. Well, isn't that fun? Well, that's an interesting thing that they actually were able to get the script to a school.
Yeah.
A script that had not aired yet.
How the heck did he get that script is what I want to know. How did the teacher get that script?
No kidding, really, especially one that hadn't aired. That's very unusual.
Yeah.
That is an unusual thing to have happen. There must have been mob connections. I mean, I don't know. I don't know anything about mob.
Maybe the teacher was in a poker game with Larry Gelbart or something. I don't know.
Could have been.
Gene Reynolds. Yeah. Who knows? I don't know, but that's a fascinating story.
It is.
Because you just don't hear that happening.
No.
Getting a script before the show actually aired. That class actually did the premiere of that show before the actual show did.
Yeah,
you know?
It did.
Speaking of that particular episode, Stephen writes and says, Dear Jeff and Ryan, I am a longtime MASH fan and American expat who has been living in Sweden since 1996. I enjoy the podcast and love to hear the behind-the-scenes stories about the MASH family. One of my favorite episodes is Season 9, Episode 2, when the camp answers letters from school children in Crabapple Cove. The scene with Winchester and the leaf sent by the little girl is particularly touching, and it gets me every time. I am born and raised in New England and remember so well the beautiful autumn colors. Charles lets his guard down and shows his humanity and his love for Boston. It's one of the times we see the acting skill of David Ogden Stiers as he wistfully recalls the home he misses so much. I understand exactly how he feels. I am not often homesick. I love living here and wouldn't change that for the world, but there are specific aspects of one's childhood or hometown that resonate strongly once one is removed from that environment. I've gone on to work in healthcare myself and have recently become a full-fledged assistant nurse with a specialty in emergency psychiatry. And yes, Dr. Sidney Friedman is probably the best of many great recurring characters. He is honest and urbane, marveling at the madness of the 407 within the madness of war. Jeff, say hi to George for me. And Ryan, I agree with you. Drunk Margaret is certainly in the running for one of the funniest things about MASH. Keep up the good work. Your friend in Stockholm, Stephen.
Aww.
Yeah, thank you, Stephen.
Yeah.
I love how he has that connection to MASH and Charles. And and here we have before that, Rick telling the story of how that script is important to him. And they're for two completely different reasons.
Amazing.
But that particular episode resonates in the hearts of these two MASH fans after all these years. I think that's amazing.
Nobody has ever said this about my mother, the car. Nobody. Not anybody. So I'm just saying.
I think we've done more to bring My Mother the Car back into the pop culture world than anybody else in the last 50 years. I don't think Jerry Van Dyke even talked about it as much as we talk about it.
Well, and by the way, Stephen from Stockholm, I'll say hello to George.
Yes.
Thank you very much. She'll appreciate that. I don't think anybody from Stockholm has ever said anything to her. So this is pretty big.
She is gaining popularity around the globe.
Absolutely. So Brady says, I got a great story of how my love of MASH and hockey led to a new friendship and quite the haul. I do the play-by-play for a club hockey program out of Middle Tennessee State University. One night when broadcasting a game from Huntsville, a random viewer commented on the feed and I mentioned him as he said he was from Toledo. I talked about many trips to Detroit for youth hockey tournament that took us through Toledo and mentioned how I wish I could have caught a Mud Hens game and stopped at Tony Paco's for a couple of Klinger's favorite hot dogs. It led to a conversation on and off the air where we decided to swap T-shirts, a Tony Paco's shirt for a Blue Raiders hockey shirt. The swap was completed tonight, and when I opened my box, I was hit with a total surprise. I've now got a ton of Paco stuff, eats, and new friendship that I hope will continue to grow as we both love hockey and Tony Paco's. Big shout out to John from Toledo. The moral of the story, make all the friends you can. And in a world where all we hear about is negativity, just like the 407 7th, there's wonderful people in the middle of it. My goodness.
Yeah.
What a story. Yeah. Well, you never know how friendships are going to be born and what wonderful benefits you can get from a friendship. In this case, Paco's stuff and shirts and all kind of things.
I mean, I've made friends because of this podcast, because of MASH, and I know that happens. You find that commonality, and if it's something that's so special to you and you find somebody else who finds it just as special, that's a unique bond.
It is one that just will not go away no matter how you try to get rid of it. No, I'm just kidding. No,
even with that ointment that the doctor prescribes, you just can't get rid of it.
Can't get it off your skin. No, that's a fun thing. And that's true. We have met a lot of people and have gained friendships, certainly from this podcast. And that's something we both very much appreciate and enjoy and love.
And hey, John, if you want to send us some food from Paco's, go right ahead.
Good idea.
Yeah, we'll give you we've got some stickers or something I can send you. Okay, moving on. Manfred says, hey, Jeff and Ryan, this is a short message from a newly commissioned captain and soon honored to be Swamp Rat. First of all, I am glad you're back and hope you're both doing fantastic. I decided to become a Patreon member during your hiatus because you did take the hiatus. For many podcasts I've listened to, you were the only ones that was honest about the reasons. Therefore, I think that needed support. Well, that's nice of you. Right. Ryan, I think you gave the best explanation to why we, the ones MASH matters for, should call ourselves Swamp Rats. You said that MASHaholics would be understood by everyone, the guys who know MASH and the guys who don't. But that's the reason why Swamp Rats works so much better. When you use the term in the presence of somebody who is not familiar with it, you have a good point to start and talk about MASH, the podcast, and why this show matters to you. I guess you know the 7 quick questions Alan Alda asks his guest on his podcast at the end of each episode. He asks, how do you start a genuine conversation? And my answer to that would be, have you ever heard of a swamp rat? True, I would love to see Alan Alda's face when somebody asks him this question. On the other hand, MASHaholics does have too much similarity to the term alcoholic, so I wouldn't use that. Enjoy the creamed weenies and best greetings from the 51st parallel. Manfred, there's 2 reasons I'm thanking you. One is your kind words and your reasoned explanation about why Swamp Rat should be the official name of MASH fans. The second reason I'm thanking you is because I completely forgot that we put the poll out asking people to decide between MASHaholics and Swamp Rats. Look, a lot of stuff has gone down in the last few months, okay? And my brain isn't as sharp as it has been in the past. So thank you, Manfred, for reminding me about that. We have not announced the winner of that yet, and we're not going to just yet because I want more people to vote on it. I have not looked at the results, by the way. I was waiting until we decide to finally announce it. So it's actually on our website now. If you go to mashmatters.com and look in the menu and it says poll, click that. And you will go to the poll where you can vote for the official name of MASH fans as deemed by MASH Matters. And we've narrowed down the field to 2, MASHaholics and Swamp Rats. And you and I, Jeff, talked about how we liked MASHaholics a little bit more, but Manfred gave a very well-written justification of why someone should vote for Swamp Rats instead.
Yeah.
The choice is yours.
Interesting. You forgot. I forgot that we actually did it, and I forgot that anybody was voting.
I know. You know, it just kind of slipped my mind.
Yeah.
We will announce that in an upcoming episode, but I just want to give more and more people a chance to vote so that nobody feels like they didn't get a chance. And also, thank you, Manfred, for becoming a Patreon member, especially during our hiatus. And we want to give a salute to some other folks who recently joined our Patreon page, including Private Betsy Grow.
And Private James Sullivan.
Private Kira Allison Wright.
And Corporal John Nelson.
Corporal Carl Krutke Crandall.
Say that 3 times really fast.
I'm sure I mispronounced it anyway, but Carl Krutke can. I mean, it kind of sounds like a Dr. Seuss character.
It does. And also Corporal Evan Kamener.
Captain Kimberly Garhart.
And Major Rich Stavenga.
There's our latest Patreon VIPs. You too can join for as little as $3 a month and get some cool stuff in return. Just go to mashmatters.com/support.
Moving on, Jason says, Dear Jeff and Ryan, recently I watched this episode with my 15-year-old daughter. At the end of the episode, when Hawkeye gets his long johns back, my daughter commented that she wouldn't want to wear them after the entire camp had them on. She's a very smart girl. I debated briefly on explaining hardships of U.S. soldiers in the Korean War, or that it was a TV show, and more than likely they had dozens of long johns around. In the end, I merely commented that they washed them before handing them back to Hawkeye. The look I received made me realize parenting isn't a piece of baklava. Keep up the good work. Love the podcast.
Yes. The joys of a teenage daughter, Jason.
Yes, indeed.
Been there, done that.
I have a teenage parrot, so there you go. I know nothing about that.
Does George roll her eyes at you too?
Oh, please, yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Casey says, hey, I've come back to watching the show in the past couple of weeks, and I'm so happy to come across a great podcast that gives us the benefit of adding fun context to something we love. I've been mainly focused on the interviews, but I'm looking forward to combing through all of it. It's nice to see Igor finally making Father Mulcahy's corn on the cob rather than creaming it. This watch, I have really thought a lot about Major Burns and how Larry Linville really did a great service with wonderful acting. While being a disliked villain role, I find Larry's portrayal has such heart and pathos under the surface. There's some small bit of tragedy to my way of thinking that an actor like that really gave a lot of his best away to do a great job that maybe didn't provide the best of benefits in the long term of his career. Still, you do the best with the role you have, and my goodness did Larry deliver. In any event, thanks for the great show, the interviews, and providing a great companion to an all-timer of the show. P.S. I grew up in southern Iowa, never living more than a couple of hours from Radar's home in Ottumwa. I graduated from the University of Iowa in 2008, and just like Radar in the episode where he supports the former Iowa player who loses his leg, we really do show that much love and support to our school's football team as Radar does in the episode. Well, most of us anyway. All right. Well, thank you, Casey. And continuing with this theme of love for Larry Linville, Jeff, you have some words from William.
I do. And William says, I was just watching the episode Margaret's Engagement and the final scene where Frank comes back from his adventure as Blood and Guts Burns. Radar puts him on a call with Mom. It is an absolutely brilliantly acted scene. If there was no laugh track, it would bring you to tears. Larry Linville delivers a cripplingly sad scene in just seconds, but allows it to still be somewhat humorous. It is masterful acting. I don't think he gets nearly the attention and respect he deserves as an actor. Thank you both for this great podcast. MASH is so important and deserves all the attention you two give it. Well, thank you. I have a little something to say about Larry Linville, too. Yes, Larry Linville was a brilliant actor. One of the most fun things I used to do is watch any scene that he and Loretta Swit had in Loretta's tent. The two of them, when they were in this, and you have to understand, this is a little movie television set. It's very small. Mm-hmm. What looked big, and it didn't look big on television, but it was even smaller than it looked. So you have two people in this crowded little room, sort of quote room, and they had to deliver all of these lines and be on top of each other with the lines and the humor and the timing and the physical stuff that they were doing, walking around, or she was putting stuff on or taking stuff off, but he was hiding, getting in and out of the closet. I stood there and watched them, and it was just a beautiful thing to watch. It was poetry because the two of them going through those scenes was just absolutely brilliant. So I one of my favorite things to sit there and watch because they were just stupendous at it.
Yeah.
And yes, Larry was a wonderful genius actor, and I loved him dearly. He was such a nice man on the set and nothing like the goofy character that he was in this show.
Yeah.
But he was great.
That particular scene that William is referencing is probably my favorite Frank Burns moment too, because yes, for the first time, really, we see a different side of Frank.
Well, you see, I had this friend, and this friend, just pretended to like me, you know, the way Dad used to.
It gives us a glimpse of what could have been. If we could have had more moments of humanity from Frank, would it have been a little bit different? Would we have never seen Charles Emerson Winchester had we seen more of that side of Frank. I don't know. That's a big what if. Mm-hmm. But Larry Linville, brilliant actor. And yes, I agree. He does not get the attention he deserves.
Yeah. And to your point, I think he certainly could have done that, delivered a little bit more humanity than we ever saw. But I think the writers just took off and couldn't stop themselves. Did it with that character. I felt bad. It was too bad because it was really sad when he went away. Mm-hmm. I missed him. And I think everybody did.
All right. So we've heard from Australia. We've heard from Sweden. And now we're going to hear from Ireland.
All right.
David says, "Hi, Ryan and Jeff. I've only recently discovered your podcast, and I spend every minute as I listen in my car to and from work. You make me smile and laugh out loud, and I end up paying it forward. So thank you." Oh, that's nice. It's also helped me rediscover the joy of the TV show, and I'm also grateful to you for that. I'm only at episode 25, but I have to tell you, I almost didn't make it to episode 26 because in 25, Ryan's sinuses was playing up and Jeff started talking about the weirdness of neti pots. I hadn't heard anyone speak of them in 20 years. A staff training day I was attending had a quote-unquote guru telling us to flush regularly with the neti pot, and we actually had to do it during the training. It was crazy. And to hear the two of you talking about the craziness of neti pots brought tears of laughter to my eyes, which is never a good thing on a narrow and bumpy Irish road. I'm looking forward to catching up with the rest of the series, and thanks for the joy you bring to my day. Well, David, thank you. I had no idea that episode 25 was going to foreshadow so much for me because, you know, I did have sinus issues during that podcast. And then last August, I have the sinus surgery. And every day since then, I've had to flush out the sinuses with it's not a neti pot that I use. I use something different.
A plunger? Is it a plunger device? Something in
it's
the
like
form
a
of a
fire hose. You jam it up there. Yeah. No, it's a bottle, and I squeeze it. So it like forces the water up and shoots out the other side. And, you know, it's weird, man. I want to know who was it in history, hundreds of years ago or whatever, that realized that you could do that? Who was the brave, bored soul that did that?
Robert Neti. He did it. We owe Robert Neti everything.
Thank you, Mr. Neti. And I'm glad that we were able to bring you joy on the other side of the planet by bringing up a random thing about neti pots. Nothing to do with MASH.
Or nothing to do with MASH. And I never expected to be talking about neti pots today at all, ever.
No.
Neti pots.
I never expected to be using them every day either, but here I am. No. Still doing it.
So sorry.
It's wild, man.
I don't know if everybody out there has these commercials on television, but they advertise this great big thing. It looks like the size of a football, and you stick it in your nose and you push a button.
Yeah, it's got the little two nodules that you stick to your nose. And
right.
I don't know how that thing works, but that one scares me.
And everything that comes out goes into the bottom of it, so you get to see it.
I don't want to see it.
Yeah, here, kids, come on. Watch me. I'm going to use my thing. Why would we want to look at that? Oh.
All right, let's move on quickly because somebody might be eating. But let me preface this.
Yeah.
This next one, I thought it was so special. I felt that you, Jeff, had to read it.
I'm very excited too. Except I can't stop coughing. Okay, here we go. This is from John, a poem for Jeff. Private Igor, the Mess Hall Menace. All right. At the 407 7th, where the wounded come fast, there stood Private Igor, a cook unsurpassed. Not in skill, nor in taste, nor in fine cuisine, but in making chow-hauled nightmares unforgettably obscene. His coffee could melt through a 5-ton Jeep. His stew once caused a Marine to weep. His mashed potatoes could be used to paper a wall. And his Jell-O once bounced straight out of the mess hall. For lunch one day, with a gleam in his eye, Igor prepared pickled beef. No one knew why. It shimmered, it wobbled, it smelled kind of sweet, but tasted like rubber with undertones of feet. Today's lunch, he announced with a mischievous grin, as the doctors all braced for the horrors therein. Hawkeye took one bite and nearly passed out. BJ examined it. It's alive, he did shout. Even Father Mulcahy prayed for a sign that Igor might learn how to properly brine. Klinger and Gowns refused to partake, said, I may be crazy, but I'm not eating that steak. Yet through all the chaos, one truth remained clear. Igor's cooking was everyone's fear. For through battle and bloodshed, one challenge stood tall, surviving whatever he served in the mess hall.
Hey.
Hey.
Yes.
Yay. Well, thank you. That's really sweet. That's really fun. I love that. Very well done, John. Thank you very much. I'm going to put that on my wall and read it to my wife every night. She's going to say, please go somewhere else, Jeff. Please. No, that's a lot of fun. Thank you very much.
Yeah. We'll put that poem on the show notes for this episode, too, if you'd like to go in and relive John's masterpiece. Thank you. All right, we're going to wrap up now with Doug. Doug says, the season 7 episode called The Party holds a special place in my heart. I was active duty military for 20 years and went on many deployments. On one deployment, my friends and I decided to arrange a halfway party for our families back home to celebrate the midpoint of our deployment. We arranged a big dinner at a resort near everyone and even had a spa day treatment lined up for our wives. On the day of the party, we all gathered in our squadron area to get updates on how things were going. It was a huge success. The following days, weeks, and months, we continued to get emails and pictures of our loved ones all together having a great time. It made the remaining deployment much easier on everyone to remind the people back home that they were still connected while we were overseas. It also let us feel closer to them through all the stories we received. We may not have had Father Mulcahy's sister on the sax or Hawkeye's dad tearing up the dance floor with Mildred Potter, but the event did great things for some people who missed each other very much. I recently wrote to Mike Farrell to relay this story. I told him it was a nice example of life imitating art. He was very pleased to hear the story he brought to life on MASH was lived out in real life. Here's to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happy hour. And that's from Doug, Lieutenant Colonel, U.S. Air Force, retired.
Oh,
Doug, first of all, thank you for your service. Secondly, thank you for this email. Wow.
Yeah, boy, what a story. I mean, you know, we are very blessed, Ryan Patrick, to get all these stories and to be able to share them with people because it really, really does have a wonderful impact on my life. And, you know, I've made this point many times that when we were doing the show, we were working and there was a job and you all went to work and you got up and you showed up at 7:00 and you went home at 7:00 and you did whatever you had to do what you were paid to do. We loved it. Being able to work on a television show is a real treat. And anybody who gets that should be very, very grateful that they got the opportunity to do it. And I certainly am. But at the same time, it was a job. And you didn't think about too much of these things that we're all learning right now and that I'm especially learning right now. So I appreciate it. And I appreciate hearing these things. And it touches my heart. So thank you very much.
So if you would like to get in touch with us, matchmatterspodcast@gmail.com. You can find us on Twitter, X. You can find us on Facebook, YouTube. Our website, mashmatters.com. That's where you can find show notes for this and all of our episodes. And you can find a link to our merch. And you can vote in that poll. What should the official name be for MASH fans? Is it Mashaholics or is it Swamp Rats? Cast your vote at mashmatters.com. And if you would like to leave a voicemail under 3 minutes in length, call 513-436-4077.
Or if you're the CEO of Skechers, which makes the greatest shoes on the planet, by the way, when you just stick your foot right in there, you don't have to lace up anything. Throw your laces out the window. Skechers are the greatest. If you're the CEO, please, we would accept several dozen boxes of those. Or if you're Neti Pot, if you're the CEO of Neti Pot, please do not send us one. Well, maybe, I guess you wouldn't mind one, would you?
I'm good.
Okay.
No, I don't need any more. Thank you.
Okay.
Yes, we still have not heard from Skechers.
I understand that.
The money that we brought into that, you would think that we'd get some kind of recognition.
Please.
You know, come on, a gift card or something. Jeez, please.
Yeah. Boy.
Anyway, until next time, here's looking up your old address.